I'm tired of this busterism. Okay, busterism is what it is. First of all, I hope everybody's having a good day. I just got back from vacation, and I recommend everybody at some point hit the road and put that phone down. Dig what I'm saying? Got back for, it was cool. The only thing that was boof was just showering in the LA water. That shit. I mean, I had plenty of moisturizers and things to make sure my skin didn't end up boof, but LA water is suspect at its finest. Anyways, I hope everybody's having a good day. This weekend was good for boxing. I really don't need to cover much of the Keyshawn fight because Keyshawn Davis is the good. Keyshawn Davis is the cool Davis. That's the good Davis. All right, he put the beats on. Baranchik went to the body. As soon as Bud was like, would he clinch you? Go to the body. That's what he told him. And as soon as he got clinched up, he went to the body. He was digging to the body, dropped Baranchik. Baranchik didn't get up off that liver shot. Hold on. Man, my dog's tripping, bro. Anyway, he went to Baranchik's body and he did his thing, man. You know what I mean? He put him down and it was easy work. You know what I mean? Something about those Eastern Europeans, their body's always so soft. Usyk went down to the body. And I don't know if it's their genetics or if it's just they don't do sit-ups and all they do is work on footwork. But if you just pay attention, Loma body got softened up by Devin. Like they might have cracked the code. I mean, for the Ukrainians, Loma got softened up by Devin to the body. Usyk goes down to the body by Dubois. They extend his count and they let him continue to fight, which is nasty work. And then Baranchik, who's part of the same super team, they say super team, goes down to the body, and it was easy work as well for Keyshawn. He gets him out of there in the fourth round, and it wasn't competitive at all. You know what I mean? Baranchik is definitely the weakest link out of the three, and it was obvious. But you know what I mean? He was still, he was game. He just wasn't better than Keyshawn Davis. Anyways, enough about the good Davis. Today we're talking about the Buster Davis. All right, we had Buster Douglas. Now we got Buster Davis, bro. And an interview came out while I was on vacation. Where Gervonta Davis, he comes out, he says that he didn't fight Devin because he was afraid that if he didn't get the knockout, he wasn't going to win the fight. Understand something. And let me explain to you why this is Busterism at its finest. It's Busterism at its finest because Devin went and fought people who first of all, he went all the way to Australia to defend his to become undisputed. He was not on home turf, and he boxed so beautifully and cleanly that they had no choice. There's no way that they could rob him. And robbery was the topic of conversation in the interviews before the fight, press conferences and things like that. They were like, hey, if you go to Australia, you don't think that they might try to rob you? And he was like, I'm gonna just put all my faith in God and just box to the best of my ability. And I think that it'll be such a dominant performance that there's no way they could rob me. That was what he was saying. He didn't say if I don't get the knockout, because understand, you're Tank Davis. You're Mr. Knockout. So you should never even be thinking to yourself, oh, if I don't get the knockout. You're showing me that you're not confident in your abilities against Devin Haney. We've been saying this for a long time, bro. But now he's saying it himself in an interview, now that it seems like he's getting closer to retirement. He's doing his media press runs and stuff like that before the Lamont Roach fight. But I'm going to let him speak on it and I'm going to react to it.
Wrong the first time they ever came at me, which they said I will fight Devin. And then when he was saying like Devin was his guy. So I'm like, if Devin your guy, y'all gotta pay me now, extra, like, cause I already know what I'm coming over there. You feel me? I gotta get the knockout. If not, y'all gonna give it to him. So that's what made me like, oh yeah, I see what's going on.
But so
now, give me 2 or 4 or 3 Ferraris. If not, ain't no point in me going over there for.
And remember what Turkey Al-Sheikh said, because he's talking about Turkey Al-Sheikh. Turkey Al-Sheikh said he was gonna give Tank the Ferraris and all that type of stuff. He said, I'll give you what you asking for. And then Tank Davis turned it down. Now, again, you can only get away with saying some shit like this on a Lil Yachty podcast. Lil Yachty is not a boxing anything. Understand something. You know, you can only get away with saying this on a platform where they're not going to challenge your points. They're just going to look at you and listen to you because you're Tank Davis, and they're going to laugh and they're just going to be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? But they don't know. There was never a time where he could say this to a champ side, or maybe he could have got away with it with Cigar Talk, because sometimes Cigar Talk doesn't press the way that he should. He's pretty friendly. He's pretty cool. You just kind of, all he's going to give you is a little bit of he's going to give you a little bit of knowledge about the fighter, but you know, he's not going to press for the harder questions usually, unless it's like on some like, I don't know, bro, they saying this, they saying that, just like an easy out, but it's not a real interview. So I mean, seeing this with Lil Yachty, it's like, okay, I see the play, whatever. He's just trying to get some of the pressure off of his back from people who are like, yo, why Lamont Roach? Why not Devin Haney? And he's trying to say, oh, well, they had a plot against me to rob me. I don't understand where these takes come from, where people say that you got one bitch ass nigga who's saying Devin Haney might be on steroids. I don't know. I've always seen bad takes of his, but I just don't want to really react to it too much because it's rage bait. That's how he gets his popping. He rage baits. That's all he does. You know what I mean? I don't really want to do free promo, but him. Then you got, Cigar Talk is very friendly with his guests and stuff like that. But it's the same thing where it's like people have these weird takes about it for no reason too. It's so obvious. People rather back a cheater. People rather back a duck. People rather back people who are just on some janky shit, because if those fighters get exposed and their tactics get exposed, the media people that are backing them go right along with them. You know what I mean? For him to say, though, that's his guy. That's his guy. Bro, everybody has a promoter. You fought Ryan Garcia and he's not the same promoter as you, because you knew you could knock him out. He's not under the same promoter as you. You did a co-promotional event because you knew you could knock him out. You knew you could knock him out. And with Devin, again, people are afraid of getting in there and knowing that they're not going to be able to catch him like that, or he has more power than they say, because you see how Regis looked out there when he stepped in. He was getting socked out, and even in the Ryan fight, Devin was dominating most of that fight. He just went down, I think 3-4 times, and he ended up losing a close decision. But he still almost won that fight, even with the knockdowns, because it was a dominant performance. So again, people have to stop saying stupid shit and acting like and pissing on us and saying that it's raining, basically. And then people being like, oh yeah, nah, like what he says is word is bond, when the evidence shows us that's clearly not the case. Now this man is telling you himself out of his own mouth that he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to knock Devin out and that he would lose, and that he tried to disguise the potential boxing lesson or even him getting rocked and beat up as a potential robbery, and Turkey's trying to set him up. So you see the strategy and the way that people try to save face for ducking by saying, oh, it might have been a robbery or whatever. Why don't you get in there and fight him? There's literally no way. Look, we're in here with nothing but our gloves, space, and opportunity. If you don't want it to be a robbery, then go beat him up. It's not that hard. Go beat him up. Just go beat him up. So in the sport, I never understood why. Well, I do understand, but when people try to make these weird political things where it's like, oh man, we're both two of the greatest fighters in the game right now, but we can't fight because it might be a robbery. Your skill set is literally made to where you don't get robbed because you're not going to 12 rounds. But if you fight them, it might not be what people are saying is going to be. So instead of you saying that and saying, I'm afraid to lose because if I try to go in there and box with him, he's going to outbox me, and I don't like his style. He's taller than me. He's bigger than me. He punches harder than people give him credit for. He's not going to say that. He is saying it without saying it. And then you have people who are spinning the narrative in his favor on the internet to buy him more time so he can retire after maybe after this fight or whatever. And he's like, they asked him like, why are you retiring? Blah blah blah. He's like, man, I want to focus on being there for my kids and stuff. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't that almost completely contradicts your reasoning for ducking these fights when they were available to you, because they have been available to you for years. Devin and Shakur have been available to you for years. This is why I say that Tank is not. He's not the face of boxing, bro. You can't be. You can't be. And I don't care how people, people try to spin a lot of these weird homoerotic narratives about Tank where, they're talking about, oh, he looking fruity and they saying he looks cute and they talking about his hair and all this weird shit. They trying to turn him into a bad bitch. Listen, bro, fuck all that. We talking about the sport right now. You can't be the face of the sport if your signature wins are, people who are just clowning on the internet and you're like, I want to shut him up. I want to shut him up. But then the people who are genuinely a threat to you in your division, you have no words for them, or you saying they might be a robbery or whatever. You fought one of the most popular fighters in the sport in Ryan Garcia, but you knew you could knock him out. So you never even worried about that. And even then you said, oh, he might be on steroids and stuff like that. So then you go in, you know what I mean? You make sure he has a rehydration clause so that way he can't pull no steroid cheese on you. And yeah, you made sure that you could skate out the door. You made sure that you could skate out the door. I personally do not mess with this because, I grew up watching him, but I watched him grow up in the sport and I was a fan of how Floyd was moving him. But the minute he separated himself from Floyd was when we pretty much guaranteed ourselves we wouldn't see any big fights from him. And now the logic behind what he's saying is the reasoning for turning some of these fights down, because you're going to have to answer to that when your career is over. Should you retire right now? Resume for resume, you've already been left in the dust as far as resume goes. Okay, you've had good performances, but the highlight reels of you knocking out, some of these guys that we like the Aguilars and, stuff like that. I mean, again, even with Ryan Garcia, some people put an asterisk next to it. I don't, because we know why he had the rehydration clause. Ryan is a cheater. So it makes perfect sense. But you have the rehydration clause, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Isaac Cruz, who you beat him with one hand. That was impressive. But, you didn't get the stoppage. You had to box him and you were having trouble. You were having trouble in that fight. Before the hand injury, even, you know what I mean? It was, and I get it, you guys are the same height and stuff, but when Tank has to really box because someone could take his punches, it's just a different story. But if he's fighting someone that's bigger than him, that's really elite, to me, in my opinion, the Devin and Shakur fights would be ugly losses. They wouldn't be close. You know what I mean? They would not be close. But you got Frank Martin. To me, that was a good win. Rolly Romero, that's a trash win. It's not a good win because Rolly Romero sucks. Everybody beat him up. Same thing with the Canelo situation, where the people who he fought, everybody beat him up and they were not looking good afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, you elevated them to this position to make people think, oh, this could be a competitive fight. But afterwards, if you watch their next few fights, they're going out bad. You know what I mean? I could say, like, with Devin, while he was being built up, while he was building his career up and he was fighting former champions and stuff like that, a lot of the people that he was fighting, some of them they had lost before for sure. They had never been, their records were never protected. But the difference was, like, a Jorge Linares was a dangerous fighter who fought dangerous guys, and he was in the mix, and he was always fighting his way up the rankings. And he lost to Lomachenko, but he also sat him down. That was a really good fight. You know what I mean? Jojo Diaz, Olympian. I believe that he was undefeated at the time. That was a good fight. Obviously, George Kambosos upset Teofimo Lopez. He beat Mickey Bay. That was a good fight. Loma, obviously, we know what that was. That was just skill for skill. And that body work, bro, it kills the Ukrainians. But if you talking about resume for resume, he got Regis on there, he got Loma on there, he got Linares on there, he got Jojo Diaz on there, and then going up to 140. I think that I don't know if he's going to 147 or if he's fighting at the catchweight next. I don't know, but I think resume for resume is not close. Same thing with Shakur. I don't think that is close, and I think that the differences in reasoning behind why these fights aren't happening is what ultimately just makes me the most mad as a fan of the sport. So here's what I'm coming to with all of this. Here's where I'm at with it. I don't think that he's going to fight either guy. Now that he's starting to explain some of himself a little bit, I definitely don't think that he's going to run those fades because, he was afraid of what he said it was going to be a robbery, which would have just been a decision loss. Probably unanimous decision loss, and it would have been a beating at the same time. You would have been eating some big shots from both guys, Shakur and Devin. And if you can't get to him, that's what he's saying. He like, man, I'm gonna run out of time. I can't get to him. But at the same time, it's not just gonna be you getting touched up and stuff. No, you're gonna be getting socked out while you're trying to get to these guys, and that's just not something he wants to go through. That's what he's saying. So I don't think he's ever going to fight any of these guys. I don't think so. I just don't see it happening. I think that we're going to see him fight Lamont Roach. I don't know. I don't think we're going to fight. We're going to see him fight Shakur. Devin's too big, obviously, so that's not happening. I don't know who really is left for him to fight, because unless you're going to keep bringing obscure opponents out of nowhere, which, or fight Keyshawn Davis, but I don't even think that he wins the Keyshawn fight. You know what I'm saying? I think that if out of the three, he has the best chance of beating Keyshawn as opposed to Devin or Shakur. But again, it's like Brian Scalabrine said, he was like, I'm closer to LeBron than y'all are to me. I don't think that with his skill set versus Keyshawn's skill set, even with the experience, but Keyshawn has a lot of amateur and Olympic experience. I think that fight is devastating if Tank takes that fight. I don't think he's going to take that fight. Now that he has a belt, though, Keyshawn has a belt, though, it makes the division interesting. So we'll see the politics at play and what goes on. We'll see. But realistically, though, I think that Tank is going to go ahead and get up out of here and try to skittle out the back door, and that'll just be the end of it. We'll never see these fights, and then Keyshawn and Abdullah Mason are just going to take over in their respective divisions, and then that's just going to be what it's going to be. So, long-winded video, but with that being said, y'all let me know what y'all think about what he's saying, and we will be back with another video probably tomorrow, man. I'm gone.